Chapter 9: The Kernel of Eternity. Lucy took a tentative step forward, her heart pounding as the golden light from the chamber enveloped her. The Kernel of Eternity sat before her, glowing with an ethereal radiance. Its surface shimmered with every color of the rainbow, swirling and shifting in a dance of pure magic. It was more beautiful than anything Lucy had ever seen, more powerful too. She reached out, her fingers trembling as they hovered just above the shimmering kernel. Every instinct screamed at her to touch it, to claim it and end the journey that had consumed her life for so long. She had come so far, overcome so much, and the prize was finally within her grasp. But as her fingertips brushed against the kernel, everything changed. The moment her skin made contact with the surface, the chamber around her seemed to fracture, the walls warping and twisting like they were made of liquid. The golden light that had bathed the room flickered, then dimmed, leaving everything in eerie darkness. The Kernel of Eternity pulsed with an unsettling energy, and Lucy felt a cold shiver race up her spine. "What's happening?" she whispered, her voice trembling. The space around her began to distort, bending in on itself. She felt as though she were being pulled in every direction at once, the sensation nauseating and terrifying. Her body screamed for release, but she was frozen, unable to move. Her mind raced as she tried to make sense of what was happening. Then, a voice, familiar and chilling, echoed through the void. "Lucy, do you truly think you understand the nature of the kernel?" The voice was deep, rich with power, but there was something about it that made Lucy's blood run cold. She knew that voice. It was the voice she had heard once before, back in the projection room when the magical adventure had first begun. "Poppy?" she gasped, her heart lurching in disbelief. "What is this? What's going on?" The voice laughed, a dark, resonant sound that sent shivers down her spine. "Poppy is not who you think he is," the voice replied, the words dripping with mockery. "You've been played, Lucy. The Kernel of Eternity was never meant for you. It was always meant for me." In the blink of an eye, the chamber shifted again, this time revealing a figure. A tall, shadowy figure, cloaked in a swirling mist of popcorn and caramel, stood before her. Its features were indistinct, but Lucy could feel its presence, its power, radiating from every inch of its form. "Who are you?" Lucy demanded, struggling to stand against the overwhelming force that seemed to crush her. The figure chuckled softly, and with a flourish, it stepped forward, revealing its true form. "It's me. Or rather, I've always been here. I am the true guardian of the Corn Realm. The one who created the Kernel of Eternity and forged the path you've walked." Lucy's eyes widened in horror as the figure dissolved into a familiar face, Poppy's. "No," Lucy gasped, stumbling backward. "You can't be! This doesn't make sense! I trusted you!" Poppy's expression twisted into a wicked grin. "Trust? You trusted the very thing that has been controlling you all along. You thought you were the chosen one. You thought you were special. But in truth, you were nothing more than a pawn in my game." The ground beneath Lucy's feet began to crack, fissures snaking across the room as if the very fabric of reality was unraveling. She looked around, desperate for an escape, but there was no way out. The walls continued to distort, the golden light now replaced with a sickly, green glow that pulsed like a beating heart. "You see, Lucy," Poppy continued, his voice now dripping with malice, "I am the true master of the Corn Realm. I am the one who controls the Kernel of Eternity, and I was using you to unlock its full power. The kernel doesn't just grant immortality, it bends reality to the will of its master." Lucy's heart skipped a beat as the implications of his words sank in. The kernel wasn't just a magical object, it was a weapon, a force capable of reshaping the world. And she had been its unwitting tool. "No," she whispered, a deep sense of betrayal consuming her.
"You tricked me!"
"I didn't trick you," Poppy said, his voice cold. "I simply played the game better than you. You were always just a means to an end. And now, with the kernel in my grasp, I will reshape this realm, and every realm, into my perfect creation." As the room trembled, Lucy's mind raced. She had to stop him. There had to be a way to undo this. But she felt powerless, small, trapped in a nightmare of her own making. Then, a spark of clarity flickered in her mind. Something she hadn't noticed before. The golden kernel, the true source of its power, was still pulsing in her hand. It wasn't just an object, it was part of her now. She had felt its energy when she first touched it, and in that moment, she realized that the kernel's power wasn't just about control, it was about choice. Lucy's fingers tightened around the kernel, and in a single, desperate motion, she pulled it away from her chest, holding it high above her head.
"Poppy!"
she shouted, her voice defiant.
"You've underestimated me! You think you control the kernel, but it's the kernel that controls all of us. You can't bend it to your will."
The figure before her roared in fury, but it was too late. The kernel began to glow brighter than ever before, its light blinding as it pulsed with energy. The ground trembled violently as the very fabric of reality bent to Lucy's will. The walls cracked further, and the green light shifted to a brilliant white. A powerful shockwave erupted, sending Poppy's figure reeling backward, its form dissolving into nothingness.
"No!"
Poppy screamed, his voice fading as the light engulfed him. With one final burst of energy, the kernel exploded in a flash of pure, radiant light. And then, silence. When Lucy opened her eyes, the world around her had changed. The Corn Realm was no longer a twisted, corrupted place, it was vibrant, restored to its natural beauty. The golden fields of popcorn were alive once again, the air was sweet and warm. The sky above was clear and blue, untouched by darkness. And standing before her was a figure, an older, wiser version of Poppy, his form now gentle and calm.
"You did it!"
the guardian said, his voice filled with admiration.
"You freed us all!"
Lucy stared at the figure, her heart still racing. She had done it. She had defeated the true evil, restored balance, and saved the Corn Realm. The Kernel of Eternity had fulfilled its purpose, not by giving power to one being, but by reminding them all that the true power lay in choice, and in the heart of the one who dared to make it. Suddenly, everything around Lucy shifted, and the vibrant world of the Corn Realm melted away like a mirage. Her eyes fluttered open, and she found herself back in the projection room, sitting in her seat as if nothing had happened. The projector hummed softly in the background, and the sound of the movie played faintly, but the room felt eerily quiet. The popcorn scent lingered in the air, but it was different, less magical, more ordinary. Lucy rubbed her eyes, feeling a strange heaviness in her chest. She glanced at the clock, only a few minutes had passed. The adventure, the Corn Realm, the Kernel of Eternity, all of it had felt so real, but now it seemed distant, like a fading dream. She wondered what it all meant. As she sat in the stillness, Lucy realized something profound. The lesson wasn't in the magical kernel or the battles fought. The true lesson was in her choices, the power she had to make them, to control her own destiny. In the end, it wasn't about the destination, but the journey and the decisions made along the way. Lucy smiled to herself, a quiet sense of peace settling over her. It might have been an illusion, a projection, but the wisdom it had imparted? That was real.